totally different because cloud mining means that you buy a contract of hash rate. So you're buying the future hash rate in advance. And this makes things more complicated from legal perspective. Whereas at NiceHash, there's no contracts. Everything is happening in real time. So as you pay for the hash rate, you're getting the hash rate.
Interesting.
And it's just the same as buying bread in the grocery store. Everything is happening in real time, and there's like no contracts or whatsoever. You can cancel the order anytime you want. As a buyer, you can cancel the order anytime you want. You can manipulate the price. You can increase the amount of hash rate you're getting, lower it. Everything is happening in real time.
Hello and welcome to Stackin Sats presented by Force-Based Mining. I am your host, Plamenko. In this episode, I'll be speaking with Marko Tarman. Marko is the lead mining manager at NiceHash and has a plethora of knowledge when it comes to Bitcoin and mining in general. Marko and I were able to connect in Houston at Empower, and we found some time last month in Miami to record this episode during Bitcoin 2023. Today, we'll be primarily focusing our conversation around NiceHash's Open Hash Power Marketplace, which connects sellers and miners of hash power with buyers of hash power in real time. We go over the general topics surrounding the marketplace. We also speak on Marko's intro and experience in mining, and we touch Ordinals, BRC-20, and all the buzz surrounding Bitcoin transaction fees. Marko, it was a pleasure to have you on the episode. Marko, first and foremost, is a Balkan brother. He's an incredibly intelligent guy and the right person to be the face of NiceHash and their Open Hash Power Marketplace. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I certainly did. As always, this is not financial advice. Please enjoy this episode with Marko Tarman. I'm super happy to have you here, Marko. This is Stackin Sats, presented by Force-Based Mining, and happy to hear you had a fun time getting into Miami. Hope it's been a good experience.
Yeah, it has. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
I know that we didn't really get to meet at Empower. We briefly met, but...
Yeah, we just grabbed a coffee, right?
Yeah.
With Matt.
Yeah, with Matt Chamberlain. Yeah. And then I remember you reached out and you kind of gave me like an update on NiceHash, which was really nice because I felt like I just had no idea.
Yeah, most people, they might have heard us about NiceHash. They even use us, like big time mining farm operators. They've used NiceHash back in 2016 or 17 with their GPUs, but most of them don't understand what NiceHash really is. So we get that we're doing the coin switching, we're doing the exchange to Bitcoin because they used to mine Ethereum, like with GPUs. They would get paid in Bitcoins and they think that we do the converter or whatever, which is not true.
Yeah, that's kind of how I had known NiceHash because I have some friends who do the GPU, or they were doing the GPU mining, and
it's totally different story. If you want, I can explain.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. So basically there's a marketplace, spot marketplace, or as we call it, live on-demand hash rate marketplace. And we connect buyers and sellers. And why the sellers are getting paid in Bitcoin is because the buyer has to deposit Bitcoins on NiceHash to buy the hash rate. So it's just a means of transfer. It could be, like dollars, potatoes, but it's not conventional.
So, like, there's like a few options when it comes to like, securing Bitcoin. You can either buy it off of like a marketplace, more traditionally like, Coinbase or Gemini or whatnot. Yeah. You can choose to mine yourself. And now this is something new that I'm hearing of, is this, in real time marketplace with NiceHash. And yeah, I guess if you could just explain a little bit more of like, the differences and from your perspective, why, you would pitch the marketplace NiceHash to people.
So we allow buyers to get on-demand hash rate. So the buyers can do whatever they want with that hash rate. They can do solo mining, they can do pool mining, they can help secure their projects with it. They can, for example, pool operators can buy the hash rate to increase their payout frequencies in case they don't have so much hash rate. What else the buyers do? The buyers can do arbitrage trading with the hash rate, which basically means that the buyer will buy the hash rate under break-even price if it's available at that price, and direct it to a pool. And statistically, they have a probability of making that small percentages of between the price of the hash rate and the hash price index. So that might be like 5 or 3 or 2%, and that's what they make. So they can spend 1 Bitcoin and get 1.2 Bitcoins back, 1.02 Bitcoins.
And this is a little bit different from like cloud mining.
Yeah, it's totally different because cloud mining means that you buy a contract of hash rate. So you're buying the future hash rate in advance. And this makes things more complicated from legal perspective. Whereas at NiceHash, there's no contracts. Everything is happening in real time. So as you pay for the hash rate, you're getting the hash rate.
Interesting.
And it's just the same as buying bread in the grocery store. Everything is happening in real time, and there's like no contracts or whatsoever. You can cancel the order anytime you want. As a buyer, you can cancel the order anytime you want. You can manipulate the price, you can increase the amount of hash rate you're getting, lower it. Everything is happening in real time. As you set up a new order for the hash rate, you specify the price, the hash rate you want to get, and how much Bitcoins you want to spend. And based on that, if the price is high enough, you will get that hash rate to whatever pool you specify, or like address or...
So it can be more than just like Bitcoin. You can run other kinds of projects, other coins.
Yes. So we have about 30 different algorithms supported. SHA for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash. There's script algorithm for Litecoin and Dogecoin. There's ETC hash, which is mostly for Ethereum Classic, and Zilliqa, if you're familiar with it, and a bunch of other algorithms. So yeah, the buyer can buy the hash rate and mine Bitcoin Cash if he wants, which is actually also quite brilliant for the sellers, for the miners, because in that case, the miner is doing profit switching between different coins. So you have a buyer who's mostly buying Bitcoin, hash power for mining Bitcoin, and then another buyer might buy hash rate to mine Bitcoin Cash. And as you know, the mining profitability of these two coins fluctuate. In some cases, Bitcoin Cash is more profitable to mine than Bitcoin. In that case, the buyer of Bitcoin Cash hash rate will increase the price above Bitcoin price. In reality, it's still SHA-256 algorithm. But the miner doesn't know if he's mining Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or whatever. He's just selling the compute power for mining these coins.
I didn't even think of that. I assumed that, if you're the miner, as the miner would be the seller, right?
Yes.
So if I assume that if you're the miner, the seller, that you're just mining, the algorithm that you're mining, and then other people are buying that. I didn't realize that.
No. The buyer can direct the hash rate to whatever pool that supports SHA-256. So, but not a necessary pool. It can be a node, but that's getting too technical, I guess. He can mine Bitcoin Cash or whatever coin that uses the same algorithm, the same protocol.
So I see why, this would be advantageous, like you said, from cloud mining, because, let's say that you get a contract for like a month, at this amount of hash rate, and Bitcoin drops or whatnot, you're still stuck in this contract.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you're losing money instead of making money.
Yeah.
So with this like real-time marketplace, you have the ability to kind of...
You just cancel the order if you want.
Right.
Like with zero fees or whatever. You just cancel it and you get So, for example, the buyer will lock in 1 Bitcoin for the order duration. So once the order is progressed, let's say by half, if he decides to cancel the order in the mid of the order, he will get half a Bitcoin back. And then he can set up another order for a different pool or different coin or whatever. But yeah, as you said,
Go ahead.
With cloud mining, someone is losing money. It's either the buyer or the seller, because there's certain risk with cloud mining, and it's called network difficulty. If network, or the price eventually, if network difficulty goes up, the buyer of hash rate of cloud mining contract will lose money. But if it goes down, the seller will be losing it. No, it's the other way around. I think it's the other way around. So in each case, somebody will be losing money with cloud mining.
So with like the marketplace, man, I have like a million questions, because
Go ahead.
This is such a cool topic.
Yeah.
So for starters, how transparent is the marketplace? Like, I feel like that's a big problem with cloud mining, is people can't actually, determine whether that hash power is there, and, like whether they're just getting deposited something, or if it's actually happening.
It's quite simple to test it. You set up an order, direct that hash rate to whatever pool you want, brains, I don't know, Lux or whatever, and you will see that hash rate there. You will get the accepted shares from the pool. So that's like an easy way to validate everything.
Interesting.
Yeah, and for the seller of hash rate, it's also very easy to validate everything, because you get paid every 4 hours as a seller. That I think no other pool allows that, but you get paid every 4 hours, and you're paid for each and every share, which is, again, if we touch that topic a little bit, beneficial for miners, especially miners that are connected to smaller pools, because there's pool lock, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think in January there was a case that one of the big mining farms connected to a pool, and just bad luck for the pool, and the mining farm had like 20% less income, just because the pool had such small presence, such small market share of the NiceHash.
So for the audience, I guess, could you give a little bit of an explanation about pool luck?
Yeah, so pool luck is a statistical way of determining the frequency of block hits, I guess, because the blocks are hit every 10 minutes. The miner has certain probability of confirming that block. But on short term, let's say a month or a week, it could happen that you hit 10 blocks in 10 days, but the next 10 days you will only hit 2 blocks.
Right.
And the week after that, you will hit 15 blocks and so on. And if you're connected just for a short period, that luck, that payout can be... on the other hand, you can get lucky, but you're taking a risk of getting unlucky.
Because overall, the pool luck is supposed to kind of help ensure that, like, over the long run, you're hitting like that average amount of block rewards,
which is 100%.
Right.
So statistically, you should earn 100% on the long run, but it can happen that in short periods you will hit less blocks. The pool will confirm less blocks, but in the next period they will normally confirm more. So if the pool luck is off, it's just too short time period. Whereas at NiceHash, you're getting paid nevertheless. So once the buyer buys the hash rate, He directs it to a pool, and he acts as a miner of that pool, not the seller of hash rate, but the buyer is the miner. And he's taking that risk of getting the reward or not. So the buyer is taking the risk, but the buyer has to pay for each and every share sent from the seller. And sellers on NiceHash don't have that risk because they know the price and they know the share worth. So for each and every share you send, you're getting paid.
So as a seller, it'd be advantageous to use NiceHash because you're not as concerned about issues with the pool.
Yes.
And it's a little bit more consistent and you're getting your payout regardless, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
You always know that's one of the benefits. It's not the main one. The main one is we haven't touched that yet.
Yeah. What are some of the other? That's
the
good
higher
benefit.
pay rates. The higher pay rates.
How exactly does that work?
So the pay rates are, I think, for the past 30 days are about 7% higher than hash price index. So that's a lot of money. It just works because there's supply and demand on the marketplace, and demand is so high for that on-demand hash rate that the buyers are willing to pay premium for that hash rate, and the seller benefits the most from that. They're earning, like I said, 7% more than anywhere else.
Interesting. And how about as a buyer? What are, why would it be advantageous to be a buyer on NiceHash?
Different reasons. First of all, as I explained before, there are conventional buyers, as we call them. They buy the hash rate under break-even price. So if we would only had these conventional buyers, the pay rate on NiceHash would be lower than hash price index because they have to make, let's say, 2% off of that hash rate. To do arbitrage trading with the hash rate. And then we have solo miners, buyers, solo buyers, I guess. Then they are buying the hash rate to do solo mining. So a buyer will buy hash rate, a huge amount of hash rate, let's say 500 petahash for 2 hours. And he will try his luck and try to confirm the block on Bitcoin. So just speaking from the top of my head, let's say 500 petahash for 2 hours would be, I don't know, $500. And with that $500, the buyer has a decent probability of hitting a block. That means like what's now $150,000. And that buyer, he's willing to pay premium price for that hash rate because he has to outbid the conventional buyers. There's an order book of orders for the hash rate, and let's say there's 100 orders, and only the top 10 will get filled because for the rest of them there's not enough hash rate on the marketplace. And the first one is the top paying, and then the second one is paying less and less and less. And the priority for hash rate is based on the price of the order. So the higher the price, the higher. I mean, if you outbid everyone, you're gonna get the hash rate. And that's why these solo mining buyers have to outbid others and set the higher price, higher than hash price index, to try their luck, I guess. And just 2 weeks ago, there was a guy who spent $2 and confirmed the block. He spent $2 and got $150,000. It's crazy.
And I mean, it's absolutely insane. I've been seeing, you're really active on LinkedIn, and I've seen you post multiple like articles and whatnot of solo miners, of people just buying a little bit of hash power and confirming the block. So then you're getting the block reward, and you're getting like the transaction fees that are skyrocketed since Ordinals.
Yeah.
or with all the what do they call it, the BRC20?
BRC20. Yeah.
Yeah, and have you seen some popularity on NiceHash through that? Are you seeing
Yes.
you're seeing more competition, more buyers, looking to outbid each other? And
I mean, so again, it comes down to the type of buyer. The conventional buyer will know what's the fee in the next block, and he's willing to pay so much higher for that hash rate. If there's 20% more reward in the total reward in the block, the buyer will set 20% higher price. And the buyers are smart people. They have bots, we have API support, and they aren't doing this manually. So they check the meme pool, they check the block reward, and they use their bots to do the hard work for them. So they know what's the margin, that the highest margin or the lowest they're willing to buy the hash rate at.
so this is interesting because, I mean, every time that you learn something new in Bitcoin, you just learn like a multifaceted, approach industry within Bitcoin and how it can be used. And I feel like there's a lot of people who, are into trading, and whether it's like traditional stocks or crypto and whatnot. And it can be, obviously it can be very volatile. And especially if you have to do this on your own and kind of guess when's the right time to buy, when is the right time to sell. So you guys are just like providing an entirely different approach to how you go about, using proof of work systems, how you go about finding interest in Bitcoin and crypto. And it's incredible.
And we've been around since 2014, and the core product has always been the same.
So the marketplace has always existed since
2014.
Really?
Yeah.
Why I mean, is it pretty popular? I mean, I'm pretty new, so for me it's like just hearing of this.
So there are some buyers that made a lot of money from that. Before there was Ethereum mining, and as you know, Ethereum also had high fees before they started burning them. And people were able to make a lot of money from the buy side. So there was always a lot of demand for that hash rate. But again, we weren't focusing on ASIC mining that much, just GPU. Because with GPU, you had two layers of profitability switching. The first one was on the algorithm itself, which I explained before. There could be multiple coins, and the buyers will do the profit switching between these coins for the seller. So Bitcoin Cash, the same thing. And with GPUs, you had an option to change the algorithms on the go. So we have our own NiceHash miner software and NiceHash quick miner and NiceHash OS actually, which do the switching between these algorithms. So there could be, you as a GPU miner could be mining etc hash, but at a certain moment, key heavy hash for Caspa, if you're familiar, starts paying more. So the miners will switch to that algorithm, and then they will earn more. And if the etc hash starts to pay more again, the miners will go back. So it's constant profit switching between all of these algorithms. And I call it a two-layer profit switching. That isn't the case with ASICs, because you're always mining one algorithm, but you still have that first layer, which is between the coins on the same algorithm. But yeah, in the recent years, when there's more institutional miners, there is a bigger need for this kind of tools. And I've noticed that there's a lot of hash rate marketplaces popping up, but in reality, none of them are like us. So we do in real time. Everything is in real time. A seller is paying, a buyer is paying for the hash rate in real time. The seller is getting paid in real time. There's no contracts or whatsoever. Everyone can disconnect or connect however they want. But these so-called hash rate marketplaces, which is basically cloud mining, they do contracts. So the minimum I found online was 30 days, I think. So both the buyers and the sellers are taking a 30-day risk for that hash rate.
Like it's locked.
It's locked. It's
30
literally,
days.
yeah. And there's a bunch of regulations stuff you have to do on both sides. For example, what if you're a buyer of hash rate, what happens if a mining farm disconnects? What happens if they run out of power? Everything is possible. And then you as a buyer of that hash rate, maybe you also have a contract for that hash rate to some third party, and you're liable to them that you provide that hash rate, but the farm disconnects or whatever can happen. So there's that risk. There's risk of higher or lower pay rates based on the difficulty.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas at NiceHash, there's none of that. There is no contract. No, I think it's SOC. I think you guys like with cloud mining.
The SEC or like a governmental?
Yeah, like I'm not sure how is it called, but basically the hash rate marketplace has to do due diligence.
Sure.
For both sides. Whereas at NiceHash, there's none of that. You just come and start mining.
Are you talking about like KYC?
Yes.
Like, okay.
And KYB, I've heard KYM, it's know your miner.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's none of that there. On NiceHash, there's KYC for buyers. So there's no risk of something malicious to happen with that hash rate because we always know who is the buyer. But yeah.
And as a miner, why is it important to be able to avoid KYC?
It's not important to avoid it. I mean, it's up to the person, but it makes things more complicated where they shouldn't be. You're just selling hash rate on NiceHash.
Yeah, it's like, why do you need to know all my information about me and who I am if I'm just selling you hash rate?
Yeah. And the thing with NiceHash is that you don't even have to create an account. You just use your Bitcoin wallet address for mining. Some OG miners might remember that in the past there was no user accounts with any of the pools. You could just that was more popular with GPU miners. So you would just use your mining address, .worker name, and pool address as a URL, and that's it. It's still the same with NiceHash, but we also give another option to create an account. So yeah, we have both options.
Yeah, and in a world where like the government, wherever you are, whatever country you're in, the government just wants to know more about, what it is you're doing with your money. And I think for anyone who's in Bitcoin, anyone who's in crypto, we all see that there's a big problem with that. Like, I'm always ranting to my girlfriend about KYC, and she's like, "What is KYC?" Like, it's know your customer. So it's like, no matter what you're doing, it seems that, some sort of institution, whether it's from the financial institution or it's the government, that's auditing the financial institution, everyone needs to know, a good amount of personal information about you. And we're seeing with, mining and Bitcoin in general just becoming more popular. You're seeing more regulation. You're seeing more need of this KYC. Not everyone likes that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's two sides of the coin. Obviously, there's security and money laundering and all that stuff. I try to avoid that kind of stuff because, KYC could be good for something.
Sure.
Yeah, but obviously crypto is against all that stuff. Yeah, so as a seller, still, there's no need to do KYC.
How did you get into working with NiceHash? And, can we talk a little bit about maybe your personal journey into Bitcoin, crypto, and all that?
So I started mining Bitcoin in 2012. So I mined a couple of Bitcoins with GPUs. So there's not many people that could say that, I guess. Then there was Bitfury ASICs, if you heard about them, Butterfly Labs. Not Bitfury, Butterfly Labs.
What is that?
It was the first ASIC.
Oh, okay.
It was like that small box, and it was basically a big scam. I think they sold like 30,000 models and only shipped couple thousand. I don't remember correctly, but
Sure.
then just after that, the difficulty of Bitcoin mining went up. GPU mining wasn't profitable anymore, and we started mining Litecoin. From Litecoin, we went to Dogecoin, I think. There was WorthCoin in between, and soon after there was Ethereum. So majority of mining I did was with GPUs. I did bought the Creed ASIC. That was around 2016, I think. And it was my biggest mistake. I spent half a Bitcoin for an ASIC, which I received was just a heavy paperweight.
Oh my
Yeah, I ordered it in like, I don't know. I ordered it and the price was half a Bitcoin. I should earn $30 per day once if I had it at that time. Then I waited 3 months or 2 months for the ASIC. Once I received it, it made only $3 per day.
And that was just because with time and the difficulty increasing,
Yes.
Was the efficiency of the machine worse than they had advertised, or
No, it was just
just the nature of Bitcoin?
So the Creed, as far as I remember, was it definitely was GPU mineable, only GPU. So GPUs would earn decent amount from that. And then Bitmain noticed the potential there. They made an ASIC which drive up the network hash rate, and so did the difficulty increase. And by the time I got the ASIC, everyone connected those ASICs at approximately the same time in a span of 1 or 2 months, and the difficulty skyrocketed. So that by the time I got the ASIC, the difficulty was so high that it made it not profitable. The same thing still happens. Look at Cadena. If you've been following, Bitmain made an ASIC, and the difficulty skyrocketed. Now they just announced Caspa ASIC, which will skyrocket the difficulty again. So it's always important not to buy ASICs of some, as Bitcoiners would call it, shitcoins. But yeah, it's better to buy Bitcoin or script.
So your background came from you came into the industry as a miner, and your knowledge comes from the mining side.
Yes.
I guess I never asked or stated, what is your title with NiceHash, and what are you focusing primarily on?
Yeah, I'm a lead mining manager. So my focus is on everything mining related on the supply side of Hashrate marketplace. So there's GPU mining there, ASIC mining, and yeah, that's pretty much all on the. But it's like a broader. I do a lot more things than just that.
Yeah, in this industry, we say everyone wears many hats.
Yeah, definitely. I've been doing support, marketing, business development, you name it.
And when did your journey start with NiceHash?
In 2018,
Okay.
that's when I joined them. It was quite stressful time at the time. But yeah.
Why is that? All the ASICs and
No, in 2017, NiceHash was a victim of North Korea hacker group, Lazarus.
oh my god.
Yeah. But we came out stronger. We reimbursed all the funds. So there's not many companies that did that. I know.
Like, I'm just thinking of Mount Gox as like a
exactly.
perfect horror story example right there.
Yeah.
So you guys were like in a similar situation where like crypto was being taken from your hot wallets, or?
I don't know the details exactly. I'm not even sure if I could discuss that here, but
No worries.
but we lost 47 100 Bitcoins, which at the time was, I think, 150 millions. The price of Bitcoin was 17,000, I think, or 14. I don't remember. But the main goal, what I'm trying to say is that once you experience something like that, you make damn sure that that doesn't happen again. And when I say that we have some of the most strict rules when it comes to security, I mean it. Yeah, we're only on data plan all the time. If we're traveling, there's a bunch of security measures. Yeah, you know.
So wow, you came in at an interesting time, and then shortly after, you said like, so 2017 and 2018, and then there's the Bitcoin crash around then, right?
Yes. So soon after the incident, the management, who did a great job repaying and doing all the decisions there, because Mt. Gox closed their doors. The easiest way out is just run away.
Yeah.
But we decided to cut our profits, and we reimbursed 122% in reality, because the Slovenian government did tax us on that lost funds. So we paid additional 22% of tax on top of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So not only were you you had to be liable to all your customers and clients, but
also to
the government as well.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, no, that's incredible. I mean, from my perspective, we're in Miami, right? And we were here last year, and you have SBF is up there. Sam was Bankman-Fried, the CEO of FTX, or was running FTX. He's up there on the stage talking about how it's not as risky as you think, sitting next to Caitlin Long while doing this. I remember she had this great quote. I think she said something like, "A fool is someone who leverages their Bitcoin," something like that.
Yeah.
But it really hits hard, and it hits home where we are now, and to know that there are companies and people who are willing to do the right thing. I think in terms of, like you said, like a security breach, that's something that can happen, but it's really how do you move forward from that?
Exactly. It happens to the greatest companies. It happens to the government. It happens to everyone. But it's just about getting out stronger. Yeah.
What is the probability of like some sort of an attack like that happening now?
It's negative.
Negative?
I think it's negative. Yeah, it's hard to talk about that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I would say it's negative.
Awesome.
That, yeah.
So what's in store for Miami? What are your objectives with NiceHash, and what are you guys looking to get out of the conference here?
Exposure, brand awareness mostly, and more hash rate. From my perspective, we need a lot of more supply on the marketplace. We need, at the moment, we're just over 3 exahash, and we're aiming for way more by the end of the year.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
How fast have you guys been growing that hash rate?
It's going crazy. In the last year, we tripled the hash rate.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, imagine everyone who mines on NiceHash gets 5 to 10% more. So it's crazy not to use NiceHash. People are changing pools for lower fees. That makes 0.5% difference at most. Whereas if you change pool to NiceHash, you're getting 7% more, or 6, or it fluctuates a little bit, but still.
That's a good point to segue there, because I wanted to ask a little bit about your guys' fees and how that works and how it compares to like a traditional pool service, and maybe give you some time to answer as to why you'd be willing to pay that fee through NiceHash?
It's so the fee for sellers is 2%, which is I think it's quite the norm. I've seen pools ranging from 1 to 4%, and everything in between. And then for bigger farms, we obviously do the custom fee levels, which depends on the customer and the amount of hash rate.
How exactly are you coming up with the numbers to say that you'll earn 6-7% more using NiceHash?
It's based on the it's based on the past performance. So we compare the pay rate on NiceHash, the average pay rate, to hash price index. So there's hash price index. I guess you're familiar with it. It's the amount of bitcoins you get per petahash, per terahash, or exahash per day, and that amount is pretty much always higher on NiceHash. We have a website called Earn More with NiceHash, and as I said before, we just compare the hash price with NiceHash pay rate. That's
simple as that.
Simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the conference as well. I mean, for me, education is like the biggest thing with Bitcoin. I don't like to focus too much on the price of Bitcoin. I don't like to focus too much on, how are you going to make money? The goal is always to make money and to be successful. But for me, it's to learn about new ideas and new topics. And
exactly.
I mean, that's where, when we had that web call, I think it was like about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I was just like super ignorant on what is NiceHash. Now it's turned into something that, I'm constantly thinking about. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm always ranting at people about certain things. So like for me, going through, the different ways to buy and sell Bitcoin, it's super important. I come from like a little bit more of like a traditional dollar cost average, buy the Bitcoin once an hour, once a day, or whatever it is. And then I see something like, if you want to mine, if you don't have a farm, if you're not taking on this big operation, mining is like, it's when you get to this point where you're fascinated by how everything works and you want to do it with your hands. But it's not necessarily like it's going to be financially rewarding, unless you're able to put X, Y, Z together. So for someone like myself, who's just looking to immerse himself further into Bitcoin and all the different possibilities, that's where I see NiceHash as something that's advantageous, something that people should explore more.
Yeah, it's easy way to start mining on both sides, actually, both the sellers and the buyers.
I know that you're really active on LinkedIn, and I have my own theories about why LinkedIn is awesome. Personally, I think it's great for the Bitcoin community. Like it's a really good way to talk to people. How did you kind of pick LinkedIn to be like your social media platform?
It's I don't know, it's for business, there's a lot of miners there. There aren't so many people that I wouldn't want to meet. So there's just business people there, and that's what we're looking for at NiceHash. We have to have that online presence, that someone can relate to the company, a person, and that happens to be me. So
well, you are the face, and I see you all over the place and sharing articles, sharing stories, working with other people, talking together. I've seen you talking a lot about ordinals recently. I wanted to give you some time to kind of express your thoughts on ordinals. I think a lot of people see it as either good or bad, and they have their reasonings. And I guess I'm curious, what is yours?
I mean, it's still early to be sure, but I would say they are good, especially for the miners, because you have to know that in a couple of years, I think in 5 years, there's going to be a second halving, which will bring the block reward to 1.5 Bitcoin. So the price would have to scale at the same time as the block drops. So every 4 years, you have to have double the price. You have to double the price in order to sustain the current profitability. And in 5 years, that's times, so 30 times 8. The price to sustain the current profitability without the difficulty increasing. But we all know that the difficulty is increasing, and all the public miners are like giving out reports that they're building big mining farms. So it's just gonna, the hash rate is just gonna grow. And in like, once the emission curve drops even more on Bitcoin, there's only going to be transaction fees that will keep up the miners. But you have to have the miners to sustain the security of the Bitcoin. At the moment, there's so many things going on Bitcoin that some security risk would be quite bad for Bitcoin. Luckily, there's a lot of energy that supports Bitcoin at the moment. But still, imagine like once you have 0.1 Bitcoin as a reward, if there's no fees on top of that, nobody's going to be mining. Only if the Bitcoin price is like $1 million or something like that, which obviously it will be someday. But yeah, who knows? So what I'm trying to say is that ordinals increase the fees, which is good for miners. It's bad for transactions, but you have Lightning Network, which solves that issue.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't see an exact problem with high fees. Again, just because of Lightning Network. The opening and closing the channels would be more expensive, but still, I don't know, opening a Lightning channel for a big company isn't that expensive.
No, I agree. I mean, I think that's a really, really good way to sum like every single perspective of it. Yeah. There is nuance in every answer, and I don't think it's just ordinals good, ordinals bad. And I don't think that people who mine are solely doing it with this idea that they love Bitcoin and will do everything for Bitcoin. Mining is a really intensive, expensive operation.
Yes.
It requires scaling. Proof of work requires scaling. Yes. And this is actually, for me personally, you know, I'm about 2 years in the industry working in it, maybe about 3 years really learning about Bitcoin, getting into Bitcoin. So for me, I come from a history background. Like I have a degree in history. Okay. So if I don't know what's going on now, I look to the past. I try to learn from it. And one of the things that fascinates me is the block size wars and the ideology of big block versus small block. Yeah. And you get to this point now where, you know, you had SegWit, you know, and you had the promise of the Lightning Network. And here we are, like 6 years later, 5 years later, and you still don't see this adoption of Lightning, and you don't see as many people talking about Lightning, excited about Lightning. Yeah. So maybe it is something like ordinals or high transaction fees that pushes people to realize this technology is out here. I personally want Lightning to succeed. Yeah. I personally want people to use it more. I think it's innovative, and I love sending sats to my friends and showing.
Look at what happened because of ordinals. Binance and I think some other exchange announced Lightning support in the next couple of days. Yeah. Yeah, because I think Binance had to shut down the withdrawals. Yeah, because of the high fees. And yeah, Lightning would fix that. On NiceHash, we support Lightning since I think 2019, something like that. And we are one of the biggest nodes out there. So if anyone wants to connect with our node, feel free to reach out.
Fantastic.
Lightning, I think it will definitely be the future, especially for Bitcoin.
It's going to have to be. I mean, you can't rely on, sending a very small amount of Bitcoin and waiting for the block to get validated.
Yeah, especially if you think like the Bitcoin price will go up on the long run. So let's say 20 years from now, will you be sending, what's going to be the fee for then, a couple of Satoshis now isn't much, but then it might be a whole different story.
Yeah, exactly. And this is Stackin sats.
Yeah, so
part of that is because, once my friend Matthias showed me Lightning and how you take that Bitcoin and you break it down into a smaller number system, it makes more sense. And it's
I think the Lightning the developers are doing a way of tokenize Lightning network, something like that. There's going to be some tokens on the Lightning network itself. I'm not quite familiar, but it definitely has room to improve. To evolve.
Yeah, there still are some concerns that need to be addressed with Lightning.
Of course, yeah.
But same with Bitcoin, same with anything, it wasn't, it's not God's word. It's something that pragmatically we work towards and we build and we get better with it.
Exactly. I mean, look at any industry there is. Look at the automobile industry. The first cars could travel just a couple of miles, and we have super duper cars right now. It just takes time. The same with internet, the same with Bitcoin, the same with, the first bicycles or like what, and now we have, the cyclists have super advanced bicycles, and it just takes time.
Yeah.
We're still early.
No, I agree. I mean, we're so early in all of this, and in such a short amount of time, we have a really big history, in my opinion. I think that's just with the nature of, there's no market times for all of this. It's constantly going on in real time.
Yeah. Someone who's working in the crypto industry, they know that being out of office for a week or two is almost life-changing. Yeah. Because once you get back, everything is different.
Yeah.
We always joke around that it's hard to stay out of the loop for longer periods because it's evolving so fast. Mm-hmm. Everything is happening so fast. I don't know, SBF goes down, and in a week everything is in chaos and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. So I always like to end the episode by asking just like what's in store for the future for you. Do you have any goals you're looking to achieve in the next couple of years or so? Or?
I think you have the answer. It's the name of your podcast. Keep stacking sats.
Stay humble and stack sats.
Yeah. From company perspective, it's definitely get more hash rate. Mm-hmm. More hash rate and keep up with the demand side. And we have a bunch of other products in the line. From my personal, I think stacking sats would fit in nicely because it really is. Keep mining.
That's awesome. Well, where can our audience reach out to you, Marko, and talk to you and find out more about NiceHash?
Probably LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. LinkedIn is where I'm active the most. I'm also on Twitter, but I'm not as active there. I'm also on Telegram. But I normally give that out later.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate you coming on here, Marko, and spending the time and explaining NiceHash and just in general sharing your perspectives. It's been really refreshing. I'm looking forward to the concert or the conference, and I'm sure we'll be running into each other.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for inviting me. I had a good time.